Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again, and we are revisiting an issue that we talked about just a couple of days ago, the NTE AI situation. And I'm just gonna be honest over here, it's come to a head, and I think that head might have already burst, because we've got this insane update over here from one of the biggest VTubers in the space, ladies and gentlemen, Ironmouse, talking about her relationship with NTE, her sponsorship following those AI allegations. And of course, I think the main thing about it, the developers lying about not using generative AI in the game. So let's listen to this a little bit, get some context afterwards, and talk about why this is such a big deal.
And they had told my people that there's
literally
no
has scenes
AI
from
in it.
Weathering with You on a big TV in the
So basically what she just said, or you might have gotten distracted by some of the TTS and shit coming in. They explicitly told her agency, Ironmouse, explicitly told her agency, there's no AI in the game. Cracks over here, right? We just landed against a wall. And in the next cutscene, we teleported forward, and there's no more cracks on that wall that we just ran into. Basically, people are saying that this was, like, made in some sort of generative framework sort of program. And then, of course, right, you had this cutscene in one of the main quests, and then this is basically the proof that generative AI is being used here. Look at his outfit. He's got suspenders on, right? And then those suspenders suddenly change into a vest. Yeah, those suspenders that he had change into a vest halfway through the dialogue. The button also changes color too. Hey, fuck it. How many other inconsistencies can we find? And then, of course, them taking Weathering with You and then basically making an ad about it that gets displayed in game constantly that, you know, really, I think everyone knows that that's AI. Yeah, there's not really too much of a question about that one. Those are all the different instances that we see thus far. There's probably going to be more after people do a bit more investigatory work on what's in the game. Those are all of the instances of alleged generative AI. And while some of them are very, very obvious, maybe others are actually just animation errors, right? But this is the thing. She got told there's no AI in the game.
with You on a big TV in the city with an AI filter over it. It's not even a whoops, we forgot to take out the temp assets. It's theft, and they keep lying. Feel sorry for anyone that was involved without knowing about this or having already signed contracts without being able to back out.
Bro, I would have never known until I didn't know until I saw that thing on Twitter after the stream. I guess like since I did it, I got pushed. Like a lot of stuff got pushed to me, and then people also added me with stuff. So I saw it and I'm like, what the fuck, bro?
So now it's kind of like a situation where there might now be sponsored streamers, right, that are under the same sort of like NDA, not able to like critique the game, whatever, not allowed to like paint the game in a negative light. You all understand what's typically involved in like these sponsorship deals, what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say, right? And I think the reality over here is that there might be, once those NDAs expire, right, or once people are able to get their way out of those contracts, there might be a big wave of people who are not very happy with the game. Because this is kind of like the stance when it comes to generative AI. I think most people can understand it at this point. People don't like when you're outsourcing a bunch of work that should be done with the creative minds of people, right? And then proceed to go ahead and then upload or like give all of it to AI. You lose things like the human touch, right? You lose things like that QA, that quality assurance, that double checking to make sure that certain cutscenes look right, that certain models look good, that certain storyboarding is done properly. And this is the situation. NTE has gotten caught in a lot of circumstances, and there are a lot of people that are looking for answers. And I think one of the biggest answers that people are looking for is why the developers decided to openly lie. You can see that there's this post over here from April 22nd. In the latest dev interview, they finally addressed the AI misinformation spreading on the internet about NTE. Well, I guess that wasn't misinformation. I guess that was the actual information. So let's read the question and the response for the developer. That gaming thing. Many projects are now promoting AI-generated content. What is the attitude of the devs towards AI in terms of technology and art? Our bottom line is very clear, and our core assets and character portraits will never touch AI. Second, game players buy emotional value, and everyone is very disgusted with spending money to buy industrial assembly line products. We will mainly use AI to run some atmosphere renderings to see if it is the feeling we want as preliminary work for finding references. Basically saying we're just going to use AI early on in the development process. Use it, right, to just refine the brainstorming. And then from there, we'll give it the human touch and then the actual development that things should be getting. That's what they said they were going to do. And that's what they said on April 22nd before the game released in CN. Right now, the game is at a very, very, very contentious point, primarily resulting from the fact that the developers, as far as the player base that's concerned with AI is, the developers just lied. They just lied here. Because unless there's like just the craziest animation errors possible when it comes to what's going on over here, right, in these cutscenes that are core assets of the game, by the way, then the developers just lied about how they were using AI. And that has the penchant of pissing off a lot of people, specifically those in the space that interact a lot with artists, actual human artists. Because guess who's getting fired? Or guess who's not getting a job when you're deciding to use AI to generate stuff? Well, it's actual people. Then you have like all of like the, all of like the sort of like moral situations of like, oh shit, well now you're just recycling designs from like every other gacha game and then none of your designs are even original. Then you have like the whole theft component as well. I'm not going to get into those, right? That's an issue that's already been discussed already. The main issue that I think is affecting Hada Studios right now is that they're essentially getting caught red-handed doing something that they said they wouldn't do. And they even went so far as to lie to ad agencies, allegedly lie to ad agencies to get people to sign contracts. What this could mean, ladies and gentlemen, is that those contracts were signed under duress. It could mean that those contracts that were signed by certain creators might actually be invalidated because they were signed on false pretenses. I'm certain that almost any agency, right, worth a damn, would be able to, on their client or on their creator's request, get them out of this contract if they signed it on the basis that there wasn't going to be any AI in the game. This is a big drama. And to have Ironmouse, remember, one of the biggest VTubers in the space, just openly saying stuff like this about their creator sponsorship, about their creator program over here, that's not a good look, because imagine who else might follow. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been taking a look at the launch of NTE, and this is one of the, you can see the number of live streams right now. This is one of the most heavily sponsored games in history. One of the most heavily sponsored games with the most people ever, the most streamers ever, and of course, some of the most viewers ever. Is there a chance that anybody that streamed across these few days on a sponsor, that they were misled about what was going to be in the product? Potentially. But did some of them know early enough? Probably not. And that's where she's coming in. Because I guess her sponsor was slated to start later.
Oh. And they told my sponsor people. They told my sponsor people, they said no. They said, we do not have AI in anything. There's no AI anywhere.
And if that's literally what they said, no AI anywhere, no AI in anything, that's a ballsy fucking thing to say. I'm going to be honest, especially when you consider what's actually in the game, provably in the game. That's wild. I could understand if they were trying to say like there's no AI in the character designs and the character artwork, and then but they kind of like gave themselves an out that there might have been AI elsewhere. This is just a blanket statement. No, we didn't use any of that shit.
And it's just like, why are you fucking lying, bro? Like,
So the end result of this is that, well, she dropped her NTE sponsorship because naturally, right, I'm assuming that she's somebody that is definitely not on the side of replacing human work with AI generated content in the games. I'm personally on the side of, if you're putting in a bunch of content into the game and it's AI slop, right? It's low effort garbage that's only being mass produced because you can cut costs with AI and the content itself isn't good. I hate AI then. And I'm gonna be honest, I've played NTE's quest lines. The story feels like it's written by AI. I'm gonna be honest. The story and the dialogue at points literally feels like it's written by AI. It's just they were trying to meet like a word count, and so the characters just talk about the most useless, garbage, annoying shit ever. The dialogue literally feels like it was written by AI. And if that's the case, get me some fucking humans that know how emotions work, that know how like flow and storyboarding work. Get me some humans over there, because brother, the story is literally made worse by how bad and how needlessly verbose the writing is. And because I know that these developers have already lied about using AI, I already know that these developers have not been truthful when it comes to how they've been using AI. It calls into question whether or not they've been using AI on like everything in the fucking game at this point, because anything's on the table. Because they've already broken this promise. And you guys all know firsthand, right? Why don't we take it from Asmod Gold himself what he thinks about stories in gacha games?
Sponsoring every streamer to play the beginning of your gacha game, when the beginning of your gacha game is just a proper noun lore dump that has nothing to do with anything, and it's insanely fucking boring, and you pay them to play it for 1 to 2 hours, and all they do is play through the exact same storyline that's extremely boring and repetitive, and it's just introducing so much new information that nobody can follow along with it. Why haven't they realized that that's a bad strategy?
And you want to know what Asmod did for his NTE playthrough? Just listen to him.
I wonder. I wonder. I look. That's just me. NTE was pretty good. Do you know why NTE was so good? It's because I didn't do it.
I try to play the story of that fucking game. Bro, the story is the most... NTE has possibly the worst story I've ever seen in a gacha before. I thought ZZZ was bad. I thought ZZZ's story in 2.0 was bad. NTE's might be worse. NTE's story might be worse than ZZZ 2.0. Enfield's story. Nah, I skipped all of... I 1000% skip. Nah, Enfield's story. Nah, I don't think there's any defending Enfield's story. The fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, these games are lacking in a lot of ways. And the reality is that for most people, if they were to find out that they're just getting fed a bunch of garbage slop that's written by a machine, not double-checked by humans, comes with like a bunch of errors, inconsistencies, and they just have a mountain of slop to get through, that's not really a high-quality gameplay experience. That more so addresses this line over here. Everyone is very disgusted with spending money to buy industrial assembly line products. They're saying people don't want AI slop, but the game, NTE, its main quest, literally feels like AI slop. And I think that's one of the big issues. And so it's awesome, right, to see creators that are actually willing to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to dropping games in this circumstance, especially when the basis is the developers lying. On the other hand, though, why don't we hear what some other sponsored creators have to say, right? Why don't we... this is one line over here that I really want to focus on when it comes to good old Grift to Smack, right? Good old Gotcha Smack talking about it.
I was lying. I said the biggest, like, most cringe thing in 226 is virtue signaling and moral grandstanding. It's become a very prominent and, like, popular thing today. It's wild, bro.
Virtue signaling and moral grandstanding. Gotcha Smack. You are out here, tooth and nail, defending developers that are literally on the record lying to their players. Provably on the record, just lying to their players. Because this is the type of shit that he has to say about this, bro. This is the type of shit that he has to say about this.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real, man. Virtue signaling will always be cringe in that regard, bro. It's like I think the problem with the whole AI thing, what people don't realize, is that everybody's doing it. They're just more tactful about it. Like if you genuinely think whatever game you're playing ain't using AI in some capacity, you are severely naive and delusional.
So the main takeaway is, yeah, NTE got caught using generative AI in like the most exposed caught way ever, but I'm pretty sure everyone else is using it exactly the same. So like, it's not that bad, right, for NTE to just lie to its entire player base that they're not using AI and then be caught using AI. Yeah, because all AI usage is the same.
It's efficient. It's convenient for a lot of people. It even saves them money in terms of like you think Corpa, the biggest greedy entity in the world, ain't taking advantage of saving money and convenience? You have lost your rabbit mind.
And guess what happens when you save money, convenience, and you also lie at the same time? You end up with situations like this where you have some of the biggest streamers in the space calling out your company for lying to them and then also lying to their ad agency, and that they're getting their sponsor canceled. Gotcha Smack is essentially calling anyone against NTE lying to its player base, lying to ad agencies, lying to sponsors. You're all just virtue signalers. He is on the record just calling those people that might be upset by being lied to that much virtue signalers. Isn't that one of the most hypocritical things that you've ever heard somebody say before? And this is how you know he's virtue signaling here, because this is what this dude used to say before.
Game spark that made these games pop. We know what a game's integrity looks like. We know what a good game looks like. We know what passionate developers look like. And we know what a motherfucker that ain't worth a quarter looks like in terms of game development and what they're trying to do when they're trying to milk the cow. It's not that we're bitter. It's not that we're salty. It's not that we're hating. We've seen numerous benchmarks of good game development versus piss poor, fuck you, shit on your dollar game development. And so when I call these things out, and when
I call these things out,
when people who were born in that 10 years, which is a lot of content creators you watch today, call these things out, you need to understand we are keeping it a fucking buck. And everything we're saying is for the betterment of gamers, okay? Not the corporations, gamers.
Hey, everyone's, hey, NTE lying to developers, or NTE lying to players, lying to CCs, lying to sponsors, lying to ad agencies. It's not that big of a deal. Hey, everyone's using AI. Just why don't you just get right off NTE's back? Y'all are virtue signalers. Y'all annoying as hell. You just virtue signalers out here. You just virtue signalers out here, huh? But you want to know who else is on the record talking about what they would do? Let's listen to this. Let's listen to this over here. We got a cool little clip from Fobert.
The audience that might be like me, that want to just wait for what the developers say. And then if the developers like double down or don't make a good enough response, then they'll drop the game. So what I'm saying is, I probably continue to play the game as long as they decide, or they actually make an announcement about it, and like, you know, actually promise to not do it again. But by promising they're not going to do it again, I'm not expecting them to not actually do it again, but at least get better at fucking hiding it so people don't fucking notice, myself included.
So Fob is kind of just taking the middleman's approach over here, right? You got the Ironmouse take of, I'm just going to quit the fucking game right now because you lied to me. Fuck off. You got the Gotcha Smack take of, you're all virtue signalers. If you have a problem getting lied to by the fucking devs of the game, what the fuck is, like, look at you virtue signaling scum. And now you got Fobert slam in the middle where he's just like, I don't like the bad PR that's coming with this. Just hide your shit, please, so I can play this game in peace. I think there are two responses over here that are fair. Fence Master, I think that response is fair because you just like, I just don't want to be involved in this shit. Ironmouse's response is fair because, hey, at least you have the moral high ground over here. But good old Griff to Smack, good lord, this has to be the worst one ever. Because how in God's name do you take the developers' dishonesty and then turn around and spin it and then blame it on the players. You took the devs lying to you and blamed the players for that. That's impressive. Bro activated Mirror Force. Bro had the magical cylinders from Yu-Gi-Oh! Just took all of the shots that the devs should be taking and then redirected at the players of the game. Hey, do you have an issue with literal slop content being put into the game en masse just to fill up the playtime with a bunch of garbage that AI made, not a human? Do you have a problem with that? If the answer is yes, you're just a virtue signaler. You want high quality stuff in the game, you're just a virtue signaler. Jesus Christ.
There you go. I don't care if the quality is good and we get more content, heaps of pulls. Hey, at the end of the day, I'm a very simple man, right? As a consumer, am I enjoying the product in front of me? Right? If I'm enjoying the product in front of me, it's not my business to worry about anything else, bro.
We are keeping it a fucking buck, and everything we're saying is for the betterment of gamers. Okay? Not the corporations, gamers.
Remember, guys, this was barely a year and like 2 months ago. This was barely like 400 days ago. Imagine your take is so crazy, you just end up straight up insulting every person that doesn't want to play AI slop or advertise or promote AI slop. Blanket statements are wild, but blanket statements from a bootlicker, even wilder. Ladies and gentlemen, Saint from the future over here. There's been another update as well. It also looks like NTE's developers lied to the VAs working on the game too. I recently found out that a game I worked on has been using AI and has been dishonest about it. I want to be clear that I do not support generative AI in any creative field, including voiceover, art, writing, or music. If this is not addressed and removed, I will not be continuing to work with this team. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just another instance, right? You've got Ironmouse getting lied to, her ad agency getting lied to, the players getting lied to, and now the voice actors getting lied to. But again, there are still going to be people who will call this virtue signaling. Hey, they're just using AI everywhere, man. Every company's using it. NTE's the only one that got caught. Then why is there such a visceral response across the entire space, ladies and gentlemen? Jesus Christ. This is getting real bad. Let me know what you all thought about this crazy Ironmouse AI situation, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.